The numbers for what are spaces probably allocated on some scheme to these potted flowers, including these orange trees, these miniature orange trees that we saw going through the town, and we'll see again as I go back to Danang. But it's interesting how every square inch, if possible, is somehow configured for making some money. Driving on this little motorcycle trailer. Been gone. This area, which is down where I tried to get the phone fixed from the bogus Apple phone, has all now been filled in with these orange trees, apparently for sale. Big day for these folks. All kinds of beautiful flowers that you can use not only to celebrate your Tet for or with, but also just to glorify your property. Been dropped off by the public bus to visit Marble Mountain, which is, I think, 4, maybe 5 little mountains here. I think that one you just saw is the biggest one that has all of the temples and caves and so forth on it. And my lady who operates or manages the bus said pick up at 4:15. I assume that's right here. This area, as I noticed on the way down here, is known for its marble development, and you can see evidence of that. They used to mine the marble here, but now to protect the mountain, instead of chewing up their own resource, they're getting the from somewhere else. Borderline absurd. That lady rushed across the street to go through all of the usual inquiries that seem like such a friendly entree to a tourist about where you're from and what's your name and here's my name, but really what they want to do is sell you something. And then she says, this is my marble shop over here, so if you want to buy anything of marble. And I tried to say to her, why would I buy anything in marble and then carry it all the way to the United States? Since it's 8 o'clock right now and I got till 4:15, maybe at the latest, and maybe I can catch a bus quicker now that I see the situation. I've got plenty of time. Presumably there are Christians here who buy this. I think this would be more likely. As I look at the monumental amount of monuments that have been carved that are just sitting here waiting to be bought all along this roadway here, as far as you can see. It gives you a little bit of a clue of how Rome became as great as it was and Greece as great as it was when it came to a sculpture. We're about to see how you take one of these home. Apparently we're not going to get to see it, but that's how they loaded that truck. Entrance. But I will bypass that and follow Lonely Planet's suggestion that I go around to the seaside of the mountain and climb up that entranceway. I'm just giving you an idea of, again, how much carved rock there is. There's some pretty carved colors. It's like people shopping for clothes. You just wander through here and find the piece that is the right size and has the right subject matter and pleases you the most, and that's what you haul away. I like to mount right on my deck. I think these would be far more appropriate for me, alluding to Donatello, but probably even more avant-garde. Continue to walk through the village and around a corner and around the mountain itself even more. It's eerie with this carving and this almost completely demolished building, but still with wall murals and backdropped by the mountain itself. Interesting sculptures. Smaller version of what we saw a moment ago from a different shop, which is curious. Are these made somewhere else and just bought, distributed here? Taking Lonely Planet at its word, which is sometimes iffy. I think I'm at the end of the village and the ocean should be right there. This should be the side of the village where the ocean is then. That tower could take me up there easily, but there's a walkway that goes up right over there, and I'll take that up. But I think since it's only 8 o'clock and I may have a total of 8 hours hanging around. Made a quick survey of the restaurants, particularly those that were on the main street, show all the tourists, but then came here because this is where all the locals eat. And this is what I'm going to eat this morning. And there you can see, thank you, the dish cleaning operation. The soapiest of water, and then a rinse, and then a final rinse. Probably has the most meat in it, probably pork of anything I've had so far. Most Vietnamese don't eat all of what they have. They leave a lot of it in the bowl for some reason. Take this right down to the bottom. They also eat these chilies that kind of gnaw on those a little bit, but I will bypass that with pleasure. It has not only chunks of meat, which I assume is pork, but also those pork balls. Free toilet. The pallet factory. Has to be a very major enterprise for all of the stuff that has to be moved out of here. So here begins the climb up to the top. I don't think it's that great a climb. This is our first stop. More a testament to the carving skills. Assuming it's not all made out of cement. Impressive. Nevertheless. And of course, the man. And a scenic spot this mountain commands. We're about ready to enter the temple. These are side chapels, or a side chapel. That's been converted to storage shelves. Particularly dramatic here. This is a beautiful little structure. I think it's called a pagoda because you can enter into it surrounded by water and fish. I don't know why we've not cultivated this concept, or have we? And that is the discrete bonsai idea. Of course, fish would be a problem in Jackson, but protecting nagas. A very pretty little building, isn't it? Something on a small scale in one of those estates in Jackson would be a magnificent little point of light. The roof corners are dramatic, to say the least. Like a out of paper mache, so probably was used in some kind of a celebration parade. Enter the Tangshan cave before that little coterie of Euro tourists get here. This is pretty with its trees opening up totally to the sky. A larger chamber of the cave with a very old shrine building. Old, I say, not because it maybe is, but because it looks like it is. But that could be because it's modern cement and it's very damp down here. And notice there are lots of little side caverns, as we'd expect from a karst topography, which this is. And that cave goes back just a little bit further. I won't get my light out for it. Little alcoves back in here. Certainly dramatic settings for Buddha. Like this slab right here of eroded rock might have been used for some kind of text at one time. Certainly some kind of paintings. We can see the paint still remaining. Dramatic little setting. You can see water. So it's still a cave that has some activity. And if we were interested, we could climb up further into those little alcoves where there are probably little mini temples also.
Their religion is Hinduism.
Just a little setting of Buddha underneath a tree. I would call it stupid because it's closed. I think it's a pagoda actually. This is reminiscent of the beautiful wood pagodas I saw in China. The settings are always so pretty, of course, when they're maintained like Vietnam does. That's also an additive. Again, a testament to the sculpture. So the other peaks. We eventually, I think, work ourselves to the top. I'm standing on a platform where people can, if they wish, pay to take the elevator up. The Xa Loi Tower next to the elevator, and we were first at, I believe, Tangshan Cave and Danang Pagoda, a very pretty one. We'll migrate along here to the Danang2 Pagoda, but en route to Vang Thong Cave. Another pagoda. These look like they're brand new, or at least recently restored. This wall behind it seems to be quite intricate and pretty, but again, it may not be terribly new. Looks like at one time maybe water poured out of that mouth. Various scenes, but this all looks like it's either brand new or whitewashed with a gray paint or a gray cement wash. We'll go left to Vong Hai Dai, then come back here. Things that appears to be a walkway to oblivion. Nothing particularly dramatic about that view. To the Van Thong Cave, and after that, on the right, the Danang2 Pagoda. We enter a pretty little setting inside the mountain itself. To the Van Thong Cave we go. Okay, well, better go see that. I got all day. Stairs are interesting because they really are a cute little facsimile of real wood. And they're sturdy.
Anh đi qua đi để nhận tính cái đó đi. Đây mới lấy cái cảnh vô lại thành phố.
Danang cave. No one else is here. Spectacular setting as are all of these caves. Several little shrines placed in niches about here, as well as the major one. And I suspect down here in this cave are more. I might take a quick look in there. Walk in here just about 20-30 feet and turn left, and there 10 feet further on is a little cave. My guess is that this would be more the haunt of an ascetic. In the past, archaeologists perhaps have pursued that. Coming down from Lem cave, we'll go up here to the highest peak. Steep climb, almost all the way, just like you're looking at that. Stairs from somewhere down there. Should keep the tourists at bay. We'll do a 360 just for the fun of it. Looking to the southeast, down towards Huayan. Probably to the west right now. Another couple of these mountains in this collection. Looking back up to Hanoi. In fact, if you look closely right there above the wire, you can see the Ferris wheel. And there, the bridge that we crossed with the red wire supporting it. This is China Beach all through here, I believe. Maybe the China Beach is up there where Monkey Mountain is, but I think this is China Beach. Said that while we had an air base right near here somewhere, we were so ignorant of what was going on with the Viet Cong that they had a hospital hidden inside this mountain. Pretty building down there, wonder what it is. I have to go investigate if I can remember. A view of the steep stairway. How this tree has wrapped its roots, I guess, although they look like they come right out of the trunk. Branches, roots, around this rock in such a almost human-like organized way, particularly over here. You can almost imagine that you're looking at engineered design, both as to the angles, and the thickness and strength, the placement. Interesting. It's an interesting looking stone. You wonder if it's been somehow worked by man or just naturally. Here we enter another cave complex. Unfortunately, a tour group's coming right after me. Not too well lit. This is very pretty and very dramatic. This may give us an idea of what that first old building might have looked like originally. Here comes the loud tour group. These little shrines are dedications to the men or women who are noted on these flat plaques. and perhaps other older illusions. Nice setting, working your way out with that big tree overhanging the entryway. Just in here in Concave, Xa Loi Pagoda. This is I think the main entrance. Some kind of a meeting room, I believe. Beautiful wood building. Beautiful design for a building. In particular, a small home, it would be lovely. Imagine living in a home like this if you wanted to live in this area with all the conveniences that we're used to. Talk about phallic symbols. I'm surprised this plant didn't overshadow the lotus monastery, and this is their modest little garden. Be able to buy these Chinese or Oriental lanterns somewhere in the States. Look like balloons floating in the air. Here another such building. I don't know what its purpose is. Rich inside with that dark wood. The landscaping is what's gorgeous here.
Nói chơi in That's my friend.
Pretty little area is dotted with plaques in both Vietnamese and in English that are philosophical thoughts. And pretty much sums up my philosophy of life. Mind is the forerunner of parentheses all evil. Why the parentheses are there, I don't know. Conditions. Mind is chief, and they are mind made. If with an impure mind one speaks or acts, then pain follows on, even as the wheel, the hoof of the ox. Probably old poems written in Chinese back before the use of the more common tongue of Vietnam. So he should conquer 1,000 men on the battlefield, yet he is the noblest who would conquer himself. He whose mind is not steadfast, he who knows not the noble doctrine, he whose faith wavers, the wisdom of such a one will never be perfect. You are also personifying me in the negative sense. Pagoda that's quite pretty in its light lavender color. Again, remember, they're supposed to be a relic or of a copy of a relic of Buddha. I too that follows by one, the first one I read, mind is the forerunner of all good, con chief, I don't know. And they are made, mind made, if with pure mind one speaks or acts, then happiness follows one, even as the shadow that never leaves. This is river watching tower that we're going to. Some very pretty flowers. Lovely angles to those petals, aren't they? Pretty setting in this monastery. This little bell tower with a big bell compared to the size of the tower. Another pretty little building. Pagoda is apparently this way. Obviously not the preferred path to wherever it's going. Well, actually, it ain't going anywhere. Yes, it is. Going over all these rocks, which I'm not going to go over to something over there. Is that one or two bugs? One. Big honking. Dramatic looking when he flies, isn't he? Don't know which is the front, which is the back. There's where I got off the bus and hopefully can pick it back up later this afternoon. .3D wall mural on the side of this structure. This is one of the other entrances or exit. Wandering the back streets, I wanted to see this complex that I saw from above, and I saw this cemetery which I thought was interesting to look at. Here an old pagoda, or stupa, however. There one almost looking like a birthday cake. Here's some old structures, some of them broken into, or at least damaged on the top for some reason. Here are the classic hands, but here the hands are together instead of open, which they should be to allow the force of Buddha to flow into you, I think it is the theory. There's some more richly colored ones, and a very large one over there on the other side. So this little road must traverse all of that. Here are little gardens in the back streets. This is where the mistakes go, the oops. Imagine all the carving it took for those two lions, and then the tail broke. I wanted to get over and see this mountain too. Don't know if we get access to it. I hope not, because I don't feel like climbing up it. Well, here we are under the face of this rock. Nothing beneath it except this old alley and a bunch of refuse stones cast aside after the good part's been taken and used. Inside the complex, but I think I'll walk around to the front face, which may be more dramatic for looking at just those two towers, but obviously some kind of a monastery complex. Take a look at these two smaller hills just for the curiosity. As one might expect, there's a little temple here. Xa Loi Pagoda. It's Christian. Notice the position of her fingers and her right hand. Those pretty posts. These looking sparkling new. Back up in those holes behind the greenery. I'll come back and visit on the return trip on that side of the road. I'm walking between those two mountains now that we looked at. If there's anything particularly special about this, it may simply be a restaurant now, but at least it's in a dramatic location on the far end of this mountain from Poisson that we visited. Looks like somebody's trying to make something impressive out of this area, although it looks like work may have been halted here. And it is a dead end. Some monuments on the side of the hill there. There in the background, we saw that we climbed up. That it was intended to be somewhat dramatic, maybe an elevator in there, taking people up to that second level, and then another walkway over to this observation tower, if that's what it is. This area is turned into just a giant landfill. The uncompleted remains of some of that wall sculpture that we saw earlier on the front of this Colossus type building. A little toy truck compared to the last big one. Yeah, two mountains, kind of long and narrow actually, suggesting that the water flowed in this direction over time, over the millenniums. And I wonder if those are a religious site there. Initially was just come here with this little bridges, which looks pretty from a distance. It's just a cement slab bridge. And about from this huge complex going in here, whatever it's going to be. If you look way off in the distance, at the end of the green, you'll see a wall of dirt that's been piled there. My guess is that that's all set for development. Whether this will be destroyed or not, I don't know. But for the meantime, quiet, tranquil, pretty place to be. Out of it, I'm going to walk down this side of this little mountain just so we get a different experience, hopefully. Danang Sun. Little buildings back in here. You hope that they'll be preserved and even restored. Next to this pretty building, some older little shrines. Plus these big canoes. Notice the symbolic eyes on the front of these. Appropriate here in this water river land. Even now a candle burns in there. A list of those who died in the war. One war, some war. I think this collection of buildings would be a pretty little addition, a little point of interest for the customers of that monstrosity going in. Scoot along beside this little temple building, we may encounter a little cave-like place. Yes, looks like it. That's kind of fun. And it too opens up to the sky. Used for storage, but certainly great potential. I think that preserving this area would be a wonderful little evening meandering additional benefit to that hotel complex going in. Probably a monastery type thing. Look at the great potential that they've taken advantage of for Buddha shrine and landscaping. Plus a lovely building with its own little cave system back up inside there. Seeing a set of columns that look like glassed shrines above that maybe you can put candles in. Not as alluring as the main mountain. This mountain has certainly captured the attention of some in the past. A very pretty residential area. Nice breeze blowing across those fields. That water, there's monuments everywhere. Dramatically colored Naga. And what a lovely residential area this is. And not that far away from Danang. You're maybe 20 minutes from the center of it, maybe 25. Fall from this tree are big, red, beautiful, both on the tree and when they fall to the ground. You can see that this mountain once had, maybe still does, its religious attraction. Little cave shrine. Along here are characters and monuments. Kind of rough and primitive looking. But for the people that admire it, it makes its point, whatever that is. The most dramatic setting with that tree and its roots wrapping up the underside of that cave entrance. More like a grotto. And then the rock that's still in the center and built upon, embellished with religious characters, and a little walk-through. This little mountain on the left is really kind of like maybe paper, or maybe something to eat. This community deals in whatever those things are. It's analogous to some animal species. Birds, for example, some will develop slightly different songs for the same species in different locales. Maybe the remnants of half-finished or broken or rough stone and the roar of saws and whatever other implements are used to make sculptures. Actually a good thing, because that means eventually all this plastic will be recycled as such.